Welcome back. Before we dive into the different imaging modes, we need to understand the art of a clear picture. Resolution. Think of it as a constant balancing act between three factors: axial, lateral, and temporal resolution. These three are in a constant tug of war. Your job as an expert operator is to understand these trade-offs and direct them to the perfect image. Axial resolution. Axial resolution is your ability to distinguish two objects that are directly in front of each other in the beam path. It is controlled entirely by U frequency. A higher frequency gives you better resolution axially, letting you see fine details, but remember, the big trade-off, it won't penetrate as deep. Let us understand this more closely. This is a low frequency signals. You can see that the wavelength is a bit long. This makes it difficult if there are two objects in front of the beam path that are in a closer distance compared to the wavelength distance. Due to the low frequency, the machine won't be able to differentiate between them and would assume that these are just one object. So that's the rule that we talked about in previous lesson. Low frequency gives you low axial resolution, but it gives you deep penetration. On the other hand, this is a high frequency signal. It has shorter wavelength. That means the same objects with the same distance, which is now longer compared to the wavelength. Now the machine would be able to differentiate between them and would realize that these are two objects in the beam path. So that's another rule: high frequency, high resolution, but shallow penetration. If you are dealing with something in the near field, like the apex, and you are interested in resolution rather than penetration, so you can select a higher frequency setting on your machine that would be always labeled to something like res or so. It depends on how it was set up on your machine. The other way is right as well. So if you are interested in penetration, dealing with patients with high BMI, or your image is not great and you need to try deeper penetration, so you can change your machine setting to a preset setting like high pen or pen. It depends on how it is set up on your machine. Lateral resolution is your ability to distinguish two objects that are side by side. This is determined by the density of your scan lines. In the far field, as you can see here, these two objects wouldn't be displayed as two objects because the machine doesn't cover them with multiple scan lines. However, in the near field, the machine would be able to differentiate between two objects because they are covered by multiple scan lines. So with that, we know that wide view would be with lower line density and would be with lower lateral resolution. If we narrow the sector, we would have more lines into the sector, and the machine now would be able to differentiate between these two objects at the same distance because they are covered by multiple scan lines. So remember, narrower field gives you higher line density and improves your lateral resolution. One important tip is to understand that the narrowest part of the beam is the focal point. There is something on your machine called focus. You can move that up and down just at the area of interest. At that area, the line density will be packed and that object will be covered by multiple scan lines, and the power of focus would help you to differentiate between these two objects, improving your lateral resolution. Remember that the focal zone is a kind of a dynamic interaction continuously between you and the machine. Move it continuously to the area of interest, changing from side to side or finishing studying structure and moving to another structure. Always ask yourself, is the focal zone at the area of interest or no? Temporal resolution. Let's see how each ultrasound image is created. The machine sends out sound waves line by line, sweeping from one side of the sector to the other. Each complete sweep of these lines form a single frame. of the image. The number of times this sweep repeats in 1 second determines the frame rate. A higher line density means more lines per frame, but it also means it takes longer to create each frame. This can slow down the frame rate, making it harder to capture faster movement smoothly. Let's see it here. Now you have a higher line density, which is a good chance to capture two structures side by side and differentiate between them. But due to the number of lines that the machine has to create for one frame, it takes it longer to have a higher frame rate per second. And if there is a moving structure, the machine might struggle to capture the movement in time, and the movement will be choppy. If we decrease the line density, the frame rate would improve, and this will give a better chance to capture a moving structure easily. But this will decrease your lateral resolution and your ability to differentiate two objects side by side. This is much better for this mobile structure, because multiple frame rates per second will be able to track the movement in good time and the mobility will be smooth. Your target in each study is to get that balance between lateral and temporal resolution, and it really depends on what is the question you are trying to answer. Finally, to distinguish two objects in front of each other, you need good axial resolution. This is all about your frequency. To distinguish two objects side by side, you need good lateral resolution. This is all about your line density and the focal zone. And to clearly see a single object that is moving fast, like valve, you need good temporal resolution. This is all about your frame rate. Axial, lateral, and temporal. Mastering the trade-offs between these three is the true art of creating a crystal clear diagnostic echo image. Great job on mastering the different types of resolution. I put in a lot of effort to break down these concepts and make it as clear as possible. I really hope you found it helpful. Up next, we will be exploring imaging modes, 2D, M mode, and Doppler. This will be our final lesson before we dive into hands-on scanning. So stay tuned.